Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell, and I'm recording this on September 1st. I'm going to be going over the latest and greatest in the Middle East. There's been some news that happened last night with Israel trying to rescue some hostages, and they were killed. So there's a lot of that kind of activity going on. One of the hostages that were killed was an American citizen. So I want to talk about that a little bit. But before we do that, please make sure that you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. All the links are in the description of this video. Please subscribe to all those channels. It's really important. Also follow me on X, Facebook, and GETTR. Okay? That way you get an announcement that I am releasing new content. In addition, please ask your social media to follow me. All right? I need to accrete more followers. It's really important so I reach more of an audience so I can help explain what's going on in the economy, because we're going to see some economic perturbations. What's going on in the European front, the Middle Eastern front, and the Asian front in terms of war. So the geopolitical issues that are going to be starting to arise. I give you a perspective that's metaphysical, so it's a little bit unique perspective, and also how to improve your health and navigate you through some of these crises that we're going through recently, and give you a scientific spin on this, a scientific understanding of it, a medical understanding of it, and how to improve your health in the long run. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the products, and also help support the channel by donating. You can donate on my website through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee, or you can be a paid member to my Patreon channel. Higher tiered members for my Patreon channel will also have access to my lectures on pulmonology and immunology. So with that said, please ask your social media to follow me so I can accrete a larger following, because what I have to say is important. All right. Now, let's go to Fox and let's get a little bit of an idea of what exactly happened last night.
We're back with a Fox News alert this morning. Heartbreak and outrage as America's best ally in the Middle East, Israel, confirms the murder of 6 hostages, including 1 American. Former Israeli Ambassador Gilad Erdan was in office when Hamas terrorists kidnapped the hostages last October. He joins us now from Israel. Gilad, thanks for being here. You know, this detail, important detail, that Hamas executed these hostages before they could be found. Does that change the dynamic of how the Israeli government thinks about continuing to try to crush Hamas and the way in which they would attempt to get these hostages back?
It doesn't change. On the contrary, it only strengthens our commitment to continue until we eradicate Hamas totally. And I think that when this war started, when Hamas committed the atrocities on October 7th, there was a consensus. Everyone understood it. Even President Biden said that we are fighting sheer evil and Hamas needs to be eliminated totally. But since then, sadly, the international community, including the administration, applied more and more pressure on Israel to agree to a ceasefire. And Pete, now that we've seen how they execute in cold blood our civilians, and there's a feeling of palpable sadness here in Israel, everywhere. So we should all understand this war shouldn't end. We should win this war. We shouldn't end this war. Ending this war now, meaning that we allow Hamas to survive after the atrocities that they committed, and they'll be able to commit them again and again, and it will inspire Iran and all its terrorist proxies in our region to continue with their crazy dream to annihilate Israel. So this is the time for the international community, for the administration in America to understand that no more pressure should apply on Israel. We should encourage the Israeli government to continue to increase the pressure on Hamas until we hunt them down.
You mentioned that pressure from the outside, from the Biden administration. Well, Kamala Harris is part of it. Back when she used to do interviews before she was the nominee, made the nominee, in March of this year, she talked about the offensive in Rafah, that the very place where we're talking about right now. And we want to remind our audience of what Kamala Harris said in March. Watch.
We have been clear in multiple conversations and in every way that any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake. Let me tell you something. I have studied the maps. There's nowhere for those folks to go. And we're looking at about 1.5 million people in Rafah who are there because they were told to go there, most of them.
You don't need to study the maps, honey. I mean, this should be something that you should have learned back in elementary school. All right. Second, the metaphysics of this with the battle of the soul root of Jacob and Esau, which I said multiple times going all the way back to October of last year. All right. They need to battle it out to reach homeostasis in that region. All right. The United States has the nation we have because we were willing to fight for it and defend it. If you're not willing to fight for your country and defend it and win on the battlefield, you don't have a country. It's really that simple. All right. And like Niall Ferguson said, it's, not everybody, deserves a country. You have to earn it. You have to be able to protect it. You need to win. All right. So, there's a battle going on in this plane, in this reality where Israel and the Palestinians are battling for land. All right. It doesn't matter if you think that one side deserves it or not. It doesn't really matter. It's whoever wins, wins. That's how it works in the kind of the way the nature is. All right. Now, if you add in that whole metaphysical component to it, this has been stated for thousands of years that this was going to happen, and it's happening. So don't be surprised that it's happening. All right. Now, you're going to have one side that says, well, it should be the Palestinians and the Jews should be out, and you have another side that says that the Jews should have it. This has been predicted, and it's been told in texts that are thousands of years old that this was going to happen, and it's happening. So don't be surprised. And there's just going to need to be a battle, and it's the battle between Jacob and Esau, and who's going to win? We don't know. I have a feeling. I have a feeling that it will be Jacob, not Esau. But I can't guarantee that. But the thing is that that's where this is all heading to. Now, let's get away from the metaphysics of this and go towards just, this level of understanding, like a simpler level of understanding, right? Because the metaphysical understanding is multifaceted and it's really deep, all right? But on this level of understanding, on the normal level of understanding of our reality, we have an American citizen that was a hostage that died because of trying to save him. And the way the reports are, we don't know all the details, but at least what's reported, Hamas killed the hostages. Now, maybe that's not true. We don't know, but let's just assume that's true. You had Hamas that killed the hostages while the Israelis were trying to save them. Okay? An American citizen died under the Biden-Harris administration and telling the Israelis to play nice and to do ceasefires and, you know, to be more kinder and gentler in Gaza wasn't the right strategy. The right strategy was this. Biden should have said, you release all the American hostages now, or G.I. Joe's coming out. We don't have a forceful president. We don't have a president that actually uses our military to deter our enemies. They took American citizens, and in this case, killed an American citizen because they don't feel deterred by our American president. Because our American president is weak. Our defense secretary is weak. Our secretary of state is weak. And our vice president is weak. We should have, on October 7th, minutes of knowing that Americans were taken hostage, Biden should have demanded that within hours that American hostages would be released or hell would fall on Gaza. No, he didn't do that. And now we have American hostages that were killed because of failed Biden-Harris foreign policy. So we should elevate Harris to the presidency, where she was a participant on the failure of the withdrawal in Afghanistan. And she's also a participant in the failure of international policy and international affairs with the Middle East crisis. American citizens were held hostage and died. We should not have had that. On top of it, their DNC, the Democratic National Convention, outside of the DNC, they were burning the American flag. So you have a administration that supports protesters burning the American flag and promoting Hamas, and not even willing to put the G.I. Joe on to be able to get our hostages out. That's unacceptable. It should have been really simple. If I was president of the United States and that happened, what I would have done, I would have said, the hostages are released in hours, or we are going to put boots on the ground, our special forces, our Navy SEALs, we're going to be working with the IDF, and we're going to kick ass, and we're going to get the hostages out. And whatever the collateral damage is, it is. It's your choice. But we didn't have a president that did it because he tiptoed around. Tiptoed around. He could have said, American hostages released now, or hell will fall from heaven. Didn't do it because he has no balls. Blinken has no balls. Kirby has no balls. Austin has no balls. And sure as hell shit, Harris has no balls. It is unacceptable to support protesters that burn the American flag and an administration that lets American hostages be killed.
And so we've been very clear that it would be a mistake to move into Rafah with any type of military operation.
So what do you say to Kamala Harris, who says that moving into Rafah is a huge mistake?
I think that
DrPaulCottrell, what do you think? Well, thanks for asking. I think that if you don't go in, that means you're placating to the terrorists and you're giving them an incentive to take hostages. You kill the enemy and you deter the incentive of taking American hostages, period.
to enter Rafah was a mistake, because Hamas is exactly like ISIS, like Al Qaeda. When America was chasing Al Qaeda or ISIS, nobody told America, don't enter Mosul or don't go after the terrorists wherever they are. We have to be united when we fight against sheer evil. And for Hamas, Rafah is an important stronghold. That's their lifeline, as was explained here earlier. Hamas dug many tunnels there. They smuggled their weapons from Egypt. They hide, sadly, our hostages in those tunnels. So we had to go into Rafah. All the prophecies about what would happen if we enter Rafah were a mistake. We saw that there were no civilian casualties in Rafah. The terrorists continue to hide there. So again, it was a mistake to apply pressure on Israel. And from now on, after we've seen how they executed our civilians, including an American hostage, we should all be united in supporting Israel to chase and hunt down these evil terrorists, cruel terrorists.
Yeah, I just said it from day one. I hope Israel kills every last member of Hamas, and in doing so, gets every hostage back.
Each and every one of them, and we should remember, a ceasefire is a word that sounds positive, but a ceasefire means that Hamas can survive and get a free pass after what they have done, and that will be a terrible mistake. A ceasefire only if we maintain the possibility to eradicate Hamas and its leadership.
There you go. Gilad, you're done. Thank you for your time this morning. Good to see you.
It's a shame that there's going to be collateral damage, but the thing is you got to root out the cancer. And in this case, the cancer is Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. There's going to be a lot of collateral damage on both sides, on the Israeli side and on the Palestinian side, on the Lebanese side, and even on the Iranian side. There's going to be a lot of collateral damage. But the thing is you got to kill the enemy. You can't just tiptoe around and be afraid. You can't placate to terrorist demands saying, we want a ceasefire and we'll give you hostages. They took the hostages so they can try to get a ceasefire. Them killing the hostages was a war crime. I've been watching this since October, all right? Al Jazeera didn't say that, if Hamas killed those hostages while Israel was trying to rescue them, let's just say that that's true, all right? What Hamas did was a war crime. Now, do you think Al Jazeera is going to promote that? Do you think the ICJ is going to promote, or IJC, or whatever the hell it's called, the International Court for War Crimes? You think that they're going to talk about this? No, of course not. They're going to just keep on demonizing and how bad Israel is and how bad Netanyahu is. But if it's true, what just happened? Hamas killed, 6 hostages while they were trying to be rescued? If that's true, Hamas did a war crime. Where's the outrage on X? Where's the outrage on Al Jazeera? Where's the outrage on CNN? You can't placate to terrorists. The only answer to terrorism is to kill them.
The book goes through not just the presidency, the campaign, your family, and your life. Save America. A horrendous day. You were almost murdered.
Yeah.
6-7 weeks ago. 6-7 weeks ago. For the media, it's like it never happened. I'm curious about this. Did George W. Bush ever send you a note or ever call you or anything of that sort?
I've gotten so many I don't know.
Yeah.
Not much of one.
So it's possible.
I hated that he got us into the Middle East. I just
Yeah.
hated it. We spent $9 trillion, blew the hell out of the place, and we left. There's never anything, in the old days, to the victor belong the spoils. I used to say, but I was a civilian, so who's gonna listen? But I'd say, don't go into Iraq, don't do it. But if you are, keep the oil. So Iraq has hundreds of billions of dollars worth of oil right now. We spent a fortune with Saddam Hussein and all of the things we did. Should have never gone in. We decapitated the enemy of Iran. Now Iran essentially, it's like a subsidiary of Iran, but they have hundreds of billions of dollars. 4 years ago, Iran had no money. They had no money for any of these terrorist organizations. So they had no money so they could attack Israel. Now they have a lot of money. Iran has almost $300 billion. They've got Iraq that has almost $300 billion. It's a lot of money. And they made it in 3.5 years. Iran made all this money in 3.5 years. People couldn't buy oil from them. They weren't allowed by me. And I'm not looking to be enemies with Iran. I'd love to get along with them, great, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. Just can't let them have a nuclear weapon. I'll say this, if they do have a nuclear weapon, Israel is gone. It'll be gone. Israel is under tremendous pressure right now. It's amazing. If you go back 15 years or even less.
Even a low yield nuke, all right, if Iran detonates in Israel, there's going to be a fallout on Iran. There's going to be a fallout in Lebanon and Syria and Jordan and Saudi Arabia, right? So Iraq, there's going to be a fallout, all right? Not just international fallout, there's going to be radiological fallout, all right? But so would they use it? I don't know. If they were rational, they probably wouldn't, but they would definitely use it on the international stage to wield international power. And it changes the whole dynamic in that region if they go nuclear, all right? So the time to knock it out is now. You can't kick the can down the road any longer. The risks are too high for everyone, not just for Israel, it's for the United States too. We can't have Iran have nuclear capability. Can't. It would change the dynamics of the Middle East. So, and not for our embetterment. So to protect our interests, American interests, Iran's nuclear capability has to be destroyed. I have to do a commercial because this is PNN. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the olive leaf extract. Really important because it helps to boost up your immune system and it helps with your cardiovascular system. How? What it does is it brings down inflammation. By bringing down inflammation, you're going to improve your immune system. In addition, it also helps to bring down the LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. So it's dual purpose. And I really believe in providing products that you can use that are dual purpose. Olive leaf extract is really important for your immune system and your cardiovascular system. Please take this every day if you want to improve your immune system and your cardiovascular system. It's a great product. NAD Plus is also a new product that I have on my store. NAD Plus helps with boosting up your energy levels. It also helps to repair DNA damage. As we get older, we have DNA damage that needs to be repaired, so this helps that. And this also helps with protecting neurons. So that's important. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAD Plus. In addition, chemtrails and the chemicals that we ingest, breathe in, eat, drink, these forever chemicals and toxins, right? They do damage to your DNA, all right? So you need to take NAD Plus to help to repair that DNA. In addition, some of these chemicals, the chemtrails and the mosquito spraying and all that weakens your immune system. It disrupts your endocrine system. So it's important to be taking supplements that I have on my store that help to boost up your immune system. And I have a lot of supplements that help to boost up your immune system. So please go to the store and you know, boost up your immune system. It's really important.
Strongest lobby in that sense in the United States was Israel. You couldn't say a thing about Israel, Christian or Jew. You couldn't say anything about today. It's like under siege. You look at AOC +3, you look at these people, the way they talk about it. And then you see Schumer, who's become a Palestinian, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, he's actually become like a Hamas agent. Schumer, how did that happen?
Let me ask you about that. You see the outbreak of anti-Semitism in our
Tremendous.
streets. That wasn't happening when you were president, but
It didn't happen when I was president.
but you signed an executive order extending the Civil Rights Act to cover Jewish students and their free speech, which Jewish students are using now to defend themselves in these Ivy League colleges. You see what's going on in the streets. Do you think this administration, you know, they give a speech here and there. Do you think they've done enough to fight this? Because colleges are opening now and they're saying it's going to happen again and it's going to get worse. People are running for their lives and they're hiding and so forth. When you see that, what do you think?
What's getting worse, I just see Cornell is a hotbed right now. Today, all of what's happening up there. So right now, it's a little bit early, but as colleges are starting to open, Cornell was the occasion. It looks like it's worse than ever. And they don't respect this administration. It's very simple. You know, the power that you have with all of the endowments and everything else, the big tax breaks that they get, you have tremendous powers. But the heads of these schools seem like either they're weak and pathetic or they're sort of Marxists themselves, fascist Marxists. One of the professors was on from Cornell today, and he was talking about how the head people at the school are almost encouraging the students to destroy the place. It was actually an amazing statement. You think, you know, I could see them cowering in a corner, but I can't see that they're actually helping it. And it's shocking when you look at Columbia from last year, but it looks like it's going to get very bad, actually. It looks like it's going to get very bad. It's a little bit early yet. The season's just beginning. Schools are starting to open up. Most of them haven't opened yet, but the ones that have, it's nasty. It's nasty. And the government does nothing about it.
Would you consider federal funds that go into these schools?
Yeah, you have tremendous power over those schools.
It seems to me we blackmail institutions all the time with federal funds. The Democrats do too, but not here. They just seem to have wide berth to go for it.
Well, also speech. I mean, you're not allowed to, if you're Jewish and talking about a positive Jewish event, or whoever you may be, or if you're conservative even, you can't, they won't let you speak. So I wrote out an order, a very strong order, and everybody went and spoke. But that doesn't mean they love it. We put a big order that they have to pay massive penalties if they don't let conservatives speak.
Mm-hmm.
We did a lot for Jewish people because we were able to, you know, turn that tide, but now it's turning back. And Biden does nothing. How a Jewish person can vote for a Democrat, but specifically somebody like Kamala, she wouldn't even meet with Bibi when he was, look, he came over, he's the prime minister of Israel. He's in a war. We're heavily invested in that war. People are dying. October 7th was a horrific day, just horrific. And now you see people that are picketing, they're saying no such thing ever happened. You know, they did that with the Holocaust too. They said there was no Holocaust. But this one was right next to us because we saw it. We saw it. You saw it. Everybody saw it. They saw it. I don't imagine they are thinking straight. They must know it happened. But they are, I think, you know, they're interviewing people like that are rioting. What about October 7th? It never happened. Now, either they're conning us.
Don't be a crazy liberal. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver soaps. This is a structural nano silver soap that helps to neutralize pathogens. It's a high quality soap. You should get a couple bars for your household. It's way better than Dove. So you don't become a crazy freaking Democrat. please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I have 5 different varieties. This one happens to be lemongrass, but I also have peppermint and charcoal and oatmeal spice, a couple others, right? So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get a couple bars of the high quality structural nano silver soaps that I offer. Really important. Get the structural nano silver gel. We're going through cold season. We're going through mosquito season. All right. We're going through mpox season. Guess what? You're going to need to put the gel on your skin. Why? Because it creates a barrier and it helps to neutralize pathogens. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver gel. Trust me, you're going to need this. Get a couple tubes of it for your household, because guess what? If you don't have it and you need it, you're in trouble. The Even Better bar. This is a skincare bar. It's a multi-purpose skincare bar. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas. It's a very high quality skincare bar. You can apply it on your skin every day. It'll help to smooth your skin, help to soften it. It'll give it a little bit of a glow to your skin. In addition, if you have a bug bite, like a mosquito bite, apply it on the mosquito bite and it will alleviate and stop that itch right away in like 30 seconds, all right? You don't want to keep on scratching that wound and making it worse, all right? In addition, it helps to alleviate muscle pain. You can put it on a cut, an abrasion, or a minor burn and help heal it quicker, so the bug bite will heal quicker, all right? So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Even Better bar. You can apply it on psoriasis and eczema, you know, with the psoriasis and eczema, because that is tied to antibodies or hypersensitivity reactions. The ingredients in here bring down that inflammatory response, so it will help with eczema and psoriasis to help to try to mitigate it. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. And we also have deodorant bars made from essential oils from the Himalayas. No aluminum, no baking soda in it, all natural. We have it in citrus and peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. It's for males and females, but it also helps to detoxify the body. Really important, especially when you have a lot of chemtrails out there, especially when you have a lot of bug spraying that's going on, especially when you have forever chemicals everywhere. You need to detoxify your body. Please go to my store and get the deodorants that help to detoxify your body and are very high quality deodorants. It's for males and females. Get a couple bars for your household. Really important. Because of the chemtrails and the bug spraying and the forever chemicals, go to my store and get the Zeolite that I have. It is a great way to detoxify heavy metals, toxins, and you know, these crazy chemicals that are out there. All right. How it works is that it's a negatively charged molecule. All right. Zeolite is a negatively charged molecule, and it will attach to positively charged molecules, and then you secrete it in about 6 to 8 hours through urinating. All right. Really simple. And you're detoxifying your body. So you're getting rid of those forever chemicals. You should be filtering your water and stop eating foods that have you know, pesticides. Stop eating foods that are processed. All right. Get to the source and also filter out and detoxify your body. If you're on medication, you need to talk to your doctor before you use Zeolite, because you don't want Zeolite to inhibit your medication. Because during your medication may be metabolizing and turn into a positive charged molecule, and then the Zeolite will soak up that medication. So you don't want to have the Zeolite inhibit your medication. So if you're on certain types of medication, you need to talk to your healthcare provider before using Zeolite. All right. If you're not on medication, take the Zeolite and soak up those damn toxins. Because guess what? Modern day society is destroying your endocrine system, destroying your immune system, affecting your health.
They really believe it never happened, and that's maybe worse. But what's happened is amazing. What's happened to our country is amazing. We had a country 4 years ago, we were respected as a country. We're not respected anymore. So many bad decisions. The worst in terms of prestige was Afghanistan. It was handled so badly. I'm convinced Putin would have never gone in if I were president. But even with Biden as president, if he didn't do the Afghan and not getting out, I was getting out. I would have been out faster than him. I'm the one that prepared to get out, but I would have kept Bagram, the big Air Force base, which is 1 hour from where China makes its nuclear weapons. It's a massive base that we built many years ago with billions and billions of dollars.
The Biden-Harris debacle in retreat out of Afghanistan gave the Chinese a gift. You know why? Because Harris is on the take. The Democratic Party is in bed with the Chinese.
Runways are the most powerful anywhere in the world. They can carry more cargo than any other runway. You know, the massive, thick concrete goes down to almost China, which is right next to her. With big, heavy slab concrete runways. You almost couldn't build something like that today. We walked away, and one day it's gone, and China now occupies it. We were 1 hour away from where they make their nuclear weapons. But so I was getting up, but we're going to get out with dignity and strength. And you know, for 14 months, we had nobody, 18 months, we had nobody killed. They were killing, and I spoke to Abdul, the leader, and they didn't kill after that. They never killed. They were we had the snipers, and they were knocking off our guys, a lot of them during the Obama years. And I spoke to him, I said, don't do it, just don't do it. When Putin saw Afghanistan, I think you've heard that, that's a theory, but he saw such weakness, and he said, wow, that's not the country that I thought it was. And I think if you didn't have Afghanistan, possibly he wouldn't have gone in.
All right, man. All right, let's listen to the live now. Let's see what.
Israel on Sunday saying they recovered the bodies of 6 hostages in Gaza, including a young Israeli American man who became one of the most well-known captives held by Hamas. This as his parents met with world leaders and pressed for his release. The military saying all 6 had been killed shortly before the arrival of Israeli forces. Their recovery sparking calls for mass protests against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, which you did see just a minute ago in that video. And I actually can bring that video back to you now. This putting into perspective those protests that are underway, as many Israelis are blaming Netanyahu for failing to bring these hostages back alive in a deal with Hamas. Now, negotiations over such a deal have dragged on for several months. But Netanyahu saying Israel will hold Hamas accountable for killing these hostages in, quote, cold blood, and blamed the militant group for the stalled negotiations, saying whoever murders hostages doesn't want a deal. So a lot to dissect for this breaking news alert this morning. Joining us live to do so, none other than national security expert Ken Gray. Ken Gray, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, Janae. Glad to be with you again.
Glad to have you. So summer conditions as we speak this Sunday morning. An Israeli American, one of 6 hostages found dead by IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. What brings us to this point? Because last week we know that the IDF, they resumed operations out in the West Bank.
Yeah, the Israeli American was Hirsch Goldberg Poland, and his family has been very vocal trying to get the release of the hostages. This follows a week after the successful rescue of a Bedouin Israeli citizen who was successfully rescued by the IDF based upon intelligence that he was being held in a tunnel. Now here we are a week later, and IDF is also moving on potential location for these hostages, and all 6 hostages were killed by Hamas to deny them from being taken by being rescued by IDF. So this is a very sad day. Protests have developed both.
Hamas, if that's true, Hamas just committed 6 war crimes.
Are in Jerusalem, and another large protest is being planned for 3 hours later in Tel Aviv, both directed against Netanyahu and the lack of progress on the call for a ceasefire. The main stumbling block right now is Israel's insistence on maintaining a presence in the Philadelphia corridor, which is the area right up along the fence between Gaza Strip and into Egypt. Israel wants to maintain an IDF presence along that corridor to deny Hamas from bringing more weapons into the Gaza Strip. But Hamas refuses to give on this. Additionally, Hamas wants a permanent ceasefire, not a temporary ceasefire. So the protest you see going on is trying to force Netanyahu to change his policies. His defense minister, the minister of defense, Yoav Gallant, it sounds like he is agreeing with the hostage families. He wants the Knesset to remove this requirement of having the maintaining a presence in the Philadelphia corridor. We will see how this plays out. But Netanyahu has been very adamant about the fact that they are not ready to have a ceasefire with Hamas, still trying to root out Hamas in the process. And Hamas really does not want to have a ceasefire with Israel unless Israel totally removes all their forces and calls for a permanent ceasefire.
Ken, a lot to dissect. I know from the very beginning when that tragedy happened back on October 7th, you were discussing that network of tunnels that Hamas had, kind of like when you think of whack-a-mole, as you put it, you know, they have these tunnels in different areas and they just pop up. Well, we know that IDF found these hostages within these tunnels. And I recall back at one point, Hamas said they didn't even know where the hostages were, where the remaining hostages were. I think you can remember that as well. So kind of showing us that Hamas cannot be trusted if we didn't already know that. But it further goes to, could we actually trust them for a ceasefire? They are saying they want a ceasefire, but if you're killing hostages, are you really wanting a ceasefire? It seems counteractive.
Yeah, Hamas does not want a ceasefire. Hamas wants to win this war. They attacked Israel. They returned back in with hostages into the Gaza Strip. Then they were counting on either the axis of resistance by Iran and the other members of the axis to come to and join them in fighting Israel, or now they are relying upon world opinion to force Israel to give them a ceasefire. If they get a ceasefire, if they exist at the end of this conflict, Hamas has won. And they do not want to give up the hostages because that is their bargaining chip. If Sinwar wanted to have a ceasefire, he could have done this a long time ago. So it's his advantage to continue holding the hostages and trying to survive until after the world opinion forces Israel to come to some type of agreement.
Well, we know many Israelis in that area are not pleased with Netanyahu's handling of the Israel-Hamas war. You can see at this hour, they are holding a protest, saying they are not happy with the war cabinet. And we know, as you mentioned, this will not be the last of these protests. They are expected to continue throughout the day. Do you think this means anything, not having political support, not having backing from the people in this area who feel like Netanyahu should be doing more, and they feel that these deaths could have been prevented?
There have been protests for the last couple of months on a regular basis by hostage family members and their supporters. And so Netanyahu has seen a lot of protests going on against his policies. That being said, he continues on with the war, trying to root out Hamas, trying to get rid of Hamas's capability. They said that they had already met their objectives and that they are trying to get the hostages released, but this seems to be conflicting opinions there as to what direction to take next. However, let me point out that something that is different is that the head of the workers' union has called for a countrywide strike tomorrow. And so this is something that has not happened during this conflict so far. And we will see the effect of that strike. Whether it shows that the public opinion across the board has turned against Netanyahu, we will see the results of this strike.
Ken Gray, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for your candidness and your expertise on this breaking news alert. I want to ask you, what does retaliation and response look like from Israel, with Netanyahu saying he will hold Hamas accountable in cold blood?
So Israel, the IDF has rooted out Hamas wherever they found them so far, and there is intense fighting going on in smaller pockets across the entire Gaza Strip. So I'm not sure how the IDF could ramp up their actions against Hamas than what they already have. Wherever they find Hamas, they go in strong against them. But nonetheless, Netanyahu has promised for the IDF to create revenge against Hamas for their killing these hostages. Remember, these are hostages that made it almost all the way through this conflict, and here at the last minute, they were killed by Hamas to deny the IDF from being able to rescue them. So he's holding Hamas directly responsible for this, and also for derailing the possibility of a ceasefire. And while at the same time, Sinwar is holding Israel responsible for the death of these hostages, and he is accusing Israel of derailing the possibility of a ceasefire by insisting on having the access to maintaining presence in the Philadelphia and the Netzarim corridor entrance point to the Gaza Strip. So they say they accuse them of changing the goalposts, so to speak. So we will see how this works out. But right now, Netanyahu is under a lot of fire within his own country. Whether or not this will affect his ability to continue this fight in the Gaza Strip will remain to be seen.
Ken Gray, thank you so much. And we're also keeping a close eye on the West Bank as well. I put a shot in for the viewers. As we know, IDF operations did resume in that area last week. As always, we appreciate you. Anything else you'd like to add before we let you go?
Yeah, the West Bank, as I pointed out before, is a place to keep your eye on because there seems to be an intensification of fighting going on there, both between the settlers who are trying to move into the West Bank and seem to be trying to gain a better foothold there, but also the Palestinian Authority, the PA, has not been able to suppress the fighting that is going on the part of Hamas supporters in the West Bank. There are many in the West Bank who would like to turn the West Bank into another Gaza Strip in fighting against Israel. So it's an area to keep an eye on as far as the intensification of the fighting there.
Ken Gray, thank you.
I said in October, when this started, that this was going to be Gaza, it was going to be the West Bank, it's going to be Jerusalem, it's going to be the Northern Front in the Golan Heights, fighting Hezbollah, in Lebanon and Syria, parts of Iraq. Obviously, Iran is the funder. This is going to be a larger conflict. You're seeing it playing out. Why? Because there's a metaphysics here. It's the battle of Jacob and Esau. Now, I think that Jacob's going to win and Esau's going to lose big time. But there's going to be a lot of collateral damage. Not just in Israel, not just in Gaza, but also in Lebanon, Syria, Iran, Iraq, in Jordan, maybe even Saudi Arabia and Egypt. And then, Yemen and some of these other smaller countries that are around that area. But it's not just the Palestinians and the Israelis. I was saying this in October. You're seeing it playing out right now. This whole thing, if Jacob wins, the borders of Israel are going to go back to biblical times. And that means the Dome of the Rock is coming down. Now, when that happens, when that does happen, you have to be, You have to understand,
Israel on Sundays.
when that does happen, you have to understand.
Back now to our top story. The Israel Defense Forces has confirmed the body of six.
When that does happen, you have to understand that the Islamic community in developed nations like in Europe and in the United States are going to riot and do some sort of jihad. Now, which side do you want to pick? You got to pick one side. What side are you going to pick? Are you going to pick the soul root of Jacob, or are you going to pick the soul root of Esau? You can't just be on the fence on this one.
Back now to our top story. The Israel Defense Forces has confirmed the bodies of six Israeli hostages have now been recovered from Gaza. It comes as many of the hostages captured by Hamas on October the 7th last year are still being held in Gaza. Joining me now is Jonathan Chen. His 36-year-old son, Sagi, is being held hostage in Gaza. And Jonathan has been part of the American delegation of family members of those missing with US citizenship. Joins me now from Tel Aviv. Jonathan, thank you so much for taking the time. Look, about an hour ago, I spoke to Sharon Lifshitz, whose father, Oded, is also being held hostage. So I need to ask you some of the same questions. The first being is what emotions you experience when you hear of six hostages being found dead in Gaza.
Well, this is horrible news. We know for certain that all six of them were alive, not well, but certainly alive until days, perhaps hours before the bodies were recovered by our army. They joined another six hostages who were returned dead to Israel a week before. Four of them from our kibbutz. Sharon Lifshitz's father and I live on the same kibbutz, so this is all very, very close to the bone for us. So what we're seeing is that any narrative that expresses in any way that the hostages are not in danger is absolutely disproved by the proof that more and more hostages are being recovered by the Israeli army, who have been murdered over the course of the last weeks and months in Gaza, which of course, for all of the 101 remaining hostages and their families, is just absolutely horrific news.
Do you think the Israeli government is doing enough to end this situation?
Well, I would ask the question first, if I may, is Hamas doing enough to end this situation? Hamas began it on October 7th by invading Israel, murdering upwards of 1,400 people, mass rape, and initially abducting 240, mostly civilians. They still have 101 of them there. So I think the main thrust of your question should be towards Hamas, which is also holding the people of Gaza captive, who will suffer until the hostages are released. As far as the Israeli government is concerned, our street has spoken. There have been massive protests in Israel for months now, demanding from our government to come to a deal and to sign it, to bring the hostages home, and to create a ceasefire in Gaza. There's no question that that's what the people of Israel want. The government, sadly, it seems to be operating against the national interest of Israel, and even the advice of its own military and intelligence establishments that clearly have stated repeatedly in recent months that the time has come to sign a negotiated deal as best as possible with Satan being Hamas, in order to get our hostages home.
Yeah. Have you seen Benjamin Netanyahu's response to the bodies of the six hostages being found? Have you seen he said he's shocked and will stop at nothing to bring this home? But look, you recognise the thrust of the question there, which of course Hamas took them hostage. Highly likely Hamas killed them this time, as they have many others. But really, on your side, I mean, as you're in Israel right now, do you get a sense, as many seem to, and Sharon Lifshitz said it to me earlier on, that Benjamin Netanyahu is spinning this situation out for his own ends?
Well, I have not heard his most recent statement. I understand that he made one earlier today, but I have not heard it. But what I can say, I have been very vocal in recent months, really since last December, when the first round of hostage release ended through negotiated settlement, that our government has not shown, the Israeli government, has not shown the proper commitment to getting the hostages home, getting them home alive to the degree that it's possible. And most Israelis understand perfectly well that the only way that those who are still alive, and we don't know how many of the 101 are still alive, the only way they're coming home is through a negotiated agreement with the worst possible enemy imaginable. Savage, barbaric, or terrorist organization, but that's the enemy that we have. We do have the advantage of three major intermediaries who are doing what they can to get this done. But at the end of the day, Benjamin Netanyahu and Yahya Sinwar both have to come to a place where they prefer the lives of their own people and over their own political, or in the case of Hamas, ideological agendas.
That's the final question, Jonathan. I mean, Hamas is an ideology, right? So in terms of trying to crush them as if they were some sort of equivalent army seems to be a difficult, nigh on impossible thing to do. Is that the real problem here? Crushing an ideology is next to impossible.
Well, until October 7th, my day job was a historian. You're right, ideologies are certainly religious fanaticism, which is what Hamas is, have historically been very difficult to eradicate. But that's not the question. Total victory, or this fantasy of total victory that our government has been trying to sell, is no more than that, a myth. What we have needed from day one after the attack, and probably nearly the last 20 years, is for Hamas to be eradicated as a governing and military force for the good of everyone in the region, not just Israelis and not just our family. The idea itself, or ideologies, are very difficult to get rid of, but the ruling capacity, the military capacity can be reduced, and all parties are now telling our government that the military and governance capacities of Hamas have been reduced enough to be able to arrive at a negotiated settlement, and that may or may not be permanent, but at the very least can get all of our hostages home in whatever condition they are, and to stop the madness in Gaza.
Jonathan Deckelchen, whose son Sagi is being held hostage in Gaza. Really appreciate you joining us from Tel Aviv this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the new product that I have, the natto kinase. Should be taking this every day. This helps to bring down LDL levels, increases your HDL levels. It helps to control your cholesterol, and natto kinase helps to break up clots because it's fibrinolytic. So please go to the store, take natto kinase every day to help with clots, but also to help with your cholesterol levels. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take this. If you can control your cholesterol levels through proper diet, exercise, and supplementation, you don't need to be on a statin. You don't want to be on a statin. Statin's bad for you, all right? I just told you how to not go down the road of high cholesterol and eventually ending up using statins, all right? You don't want that. You don't want to take that path. Take the better path. Proper diet, proper exercise, control your LDL levels, increase your HDL levels. Take natto kinase. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. What's going on with...
And to talk more about that story, we are joined by Dr. S. Samuel C. Rajiv.
Back now to our top story. The Israel Defense Forces has confirmed the bodies of six Israeli hostages have now been recovered.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to hunt down the leaders of Hamas after the military said it had recovered the bodies of 6 hostages from a tunnel in southern Gaza. The militant group captured them during the October 7th terror attacks.
Goldberg calling Eden Yerushalmi.
One by one, the names of the 6 hostages are read out on Israeli TV, crushing the last hopes of their relatives and friends.
A few hours ago, we informed the families that the IDF located the bodies of their loved ones in an underground tunnel in Rafah. Our initial assessment suggests they were brutally murdered by Hamas terrorists shortly before we reached them. They were kidnapped alive on the morning of October 7th by the terrorist organization Hamas.
One of the hostages was 23-year-old Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Polin. He was seized by Hamas militants at a music festival in southern Israel during the attack on October the 7th. Speaking to DW in December, his mother was full of hope he would soon be released.
I pray all the time that I know there are kind, good Gazan civilians who are also caught in this horrible situation that we're caught in, and I want to pray and hope that there's someone kind there being kind to Hirsch and to the other, innocent people who are also being held there in a terrible situation.
Such words would resonate with people at this rally in Tel Aviv, held just hours before the IDF announced it found the 6 bodies. For months, protesters have been demanding a deal to release all hostages. They accuse the government of putting its political survival above the lives of Israeli citizens.
All they care about is the politics, and they didn't approve to do a deal with Hamas, and so our loved ones are still there. And currently, we don't see the horizon and don't know when they will be back with us.
The Israeli Prime Minister said the killing of hostages showed Hamas didn't want the deal.
I say to the Hamas terrorists who murdered our hostages, and I say to their leaders, your blood is on your hands. We will not rest and we will not be silent. We will pursue you, we will find you, and we will settle the score with you.
The confirmed deaths of 6 more hostages are likely to further galvanize the protests, with the opposition already vowing to bring Israel's economy to a standstill.
Journalist Balik Sladin has more on this story for us from Tel Aviv. Balik, have additional details emerged
Before
about
we
this?
go to Balik, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support my work by purchasing the supplements that I offer. And it's a double win. You're helping support my work and you're helping to support your health. If you follow my protocols that I do, you're going to be able to start improving your immune system, improving your bones, improving your muscles, and improving your endocrine system, slowing down the aging process, soaking up those free radicals. All right. So please go to my store and help support my work and help to support your health. I have a new product on my store. It's vitamin K2 MK7. This helps to support your bone health, your joint health, and your cardiovascular health. You can take this for your bone health with D3. You also take some calcium, either in supplement form or better yet, drinking milk is the better solution to that. So by taking vitamin K2 MK7, D3, and taking calcium in your food, like milk, all right? And taking collagen, then you're remodeling your bones and you're improving your joint health. This is really important because you look at people that are older, if they have ankle issues, if they have knee issues or have hip issues, they go downhill very fast because they can't move around as much, and then their muscles start to atrophy and they start having pain, and it's downhill. Those 3 joint areas are really important to making sure you have mobility. The ankle, the knee, and the hip. Very important, all right? So you're better off modeling and making those things stronger by taking vitamin K2 MK7, which is what I have here, taking the D3 that's on my store, taking the collagen, drinking milk, right? And doing some resistance training. to help build denser bone and strengthen those joints. Really important. All right. For cardiovascular health, you take the vitamin K2, MK7 with D3, with turmeric and ashwagandha, C60, omega-3, and nattokinase. The omega-3 and nattokinase will bring down those LDL levels and increase your HDL levels. The C60 will reduce the free radicals and reduce the oxidized LDL. And the K2 and the D3 work together to get some of that calcium out of the area of plaque. So the whole idea is you're trying to reduce plaque. You're trying to reduce the plaque you have and prevent new plaque from forming. The turmeric and the ashwagandha work by bringing down inflammation. By bringing down inflammation, you're not recruiting macrophages, and you're reducing the chances of damage to the intima, the inner lining of your vessels. You get damaged in the inner lining of your vessels, and then that's how the LDL gets in there, and then the macrophages get in there through an inflammatory cascade, and then all of a sudden you have foam cells that create plaque. But if you reduce the inflammation, you're reducing that inflammation of the intima, then you are reducing the chances of having these types of injuries on the intima. And by lowering your LDL, you're also reducing that inflammatory response from having a high cholesterol. So please go to the store, pay attention to what I have to say. I just told you how to improve your bone health and how to improve your cardiovascular health. All right, so go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin K2 and K7. It's a high quality product. And follow what I'm doing to improve your bone structure and to improve your cardiovascular health.
To recover the bodies of the hostages.
Yes, in the past couple of hours, pathologists and professionals are saying that the hostages were killed between 48 to 70 hours ago, which means that we're talking about Tuesday evening while the cabinet was taking their decision on the Israeli presence in the Philadelphia corridor, not very far away from there in Rafah. They were murdered by Hamas militants, apparently, and according to the details, they were found with headshots, all of them, alongside the other shots in other areas. So they were executed. Another very important detail that they were found 20 meters underground in a tunnel, just 1 kilometer away from the place that the IDF soldiers found an alive hostage 2 days before that. So maybe the Hamas militants, when they sensed or when they noted that the IDF troops are getting closer to reaching the hostages, they murdered them in order not to give this achievement to the Israelis.
And this will be just devastating news for families who say their loved ones been murdered after surviving almost 11 months in Hamas captivity.
Count how many times the mainstream media says this is a war crime conducted by Hamas. I haven't seen it once.
How much of that anger will also be directed toward the Netanyahu government for not securing a deal for their release?
Yes, well, yesterday evening I was also present and covering the event that happens every single Saturday evening. The hostages or the families of the hostages hold that event every end of Shabbat, and we can tell that the anger tilts toward one direction, which is the Israeli government. They accuse the Prime Minister of jeopardizing the hostage deal, and the results that we're seeing, the devastating results that we're seeing this morning, ongoing are the direct result of his decision. That's according to some of the families of the hostages. We're going to see that the families of the hostages, and after some statements that they have released yesterday and also today, they are planning to exceed or just get to this protest and demands for the hostage deal bigger and bigger, maybe today and also during the week.
Now, today, Israeli opposition leader Yair Lapid has called for a strike to shut down Israel's economy in an effort to pressure the government to reach a deal. How influential do you think this might be?
Yes, well, already a number of businesses has declared that they are accepting this strike, and they're not gonna be operating in the next 24 hours. All of these businesses are small to medium businesses. For now, we're talking about restaurants, chains of restaurants, and cinema halls, and maybe some malls. But the bigger issue here is the reported meeting between the workers' union, or actually the head of the workers' union in Israel, called the Histadrut, this very powerful organization in Israel, with some of the families of the hostages that want to convince him to call for a strike as well. If that happens, and this meeting should take place later today, if that happens, then maybe that will put more pressure. But from what I understand, that according to the Prime Minister's office, he's not planning to change his policy, will continue to seek a hostage deal, but will not give up on any of the strategic assets that Israel already holds, the Philadelphia corridor, the GETTR corridor, and many of the things that are considered to be an obstacle for a deal. And the Israeli Prime Minister and the government still thinks that this is very important for guaranteeing Israel's security in the future.
Thank you so much for joining us. That is Balik Sladin in Tel Aviv.
All right, before
So
we
you are
go,
taking a live.
here's some new coverage on Israeli police officers killed. So let me do another plug here. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAC. NAC you should be taking every day. It's important because it increases your glutathione levels. And glutathione is really important to help with antioxidant, being an antioxidant. It's synergistic with C60. So take NAC to increase your glutathione levels to boost up your antioxidant capability of the cell. It also helps to detoxify the cell, NAC, and it also helps with mental health. All right. A lot of people have some issues with, like ADHD or anxiety or something like that. NAC has been found to help mitigate some of those issues. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get NAC. It boosts up your glutathione levels, soaks up those free radicals. It's synergistic with C60. Should be taking this every day. This is something that that a lot of people that are in the whole anti-aging subculture and the longevity subculture, they take NAC on a regular basis. So it's part of their protocol. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get NAC. It's part of my daily protocol. I take a lot of stuff, all right? And I'm trying to put as much product on my store so you can mimic what I do, all right? But it takes a lot of money to do that, all right? So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support my work. In addition, I also have C60. C60 is a very strong antioxidant. I have it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, and an 8 ounce configuration. The more ounce configuration that you purchase, it is cheaper in terms of the cost per ounce. So it's cheaper for you if you actually buy the 8 ounce versus the 2 ounce. But it's all up to you and what you can afford. Take a teaspoon of it a day. It's really important to take that every day. Again, it's synergistic with NAC because NAC is an antioxidant that's taking the glutathione pathway. This C60 will soak up those free radicals with the C60 molecule. It's in a lipid, it's in an oil. C60 is, dissolves in an oil, it's oil soluble or lipid soluble. You can get it in extra virgin olive oil, MCT coconut oil, or avocado oil. All right. So please go to the store, get the extra virgin olive oil, the avocado oil, or the MCT coconut oil in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. Take a teaspoon of it a day. Take it every day. What that will do is it'll soak up those free radicals, and you'll notice that you'll have more energy because your mitochondria will be healthier. Your mitochondria creates the energy. And when you have more energy, your immune system is going to get better. In addition, your skin's going to get better. Your tissues are going to be healthier. They're going to perform better. As you get older, you're going to build up more free radicals. The idea is to soak up those free radicals. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. A lot of people don't understand that when we're young, we're, infants or, even adolescents, we heal very quickly and we don't build up free radicals. And we soak those up really quick. And our metabolism is really high, and our energy levels are high, right? But once you hit to about age 30, you have your regeneration is slowed down, and you are aging a little bit faster than you can regenerate once you turn about 30. For some people, it's even later, and if you have really good genetics, it's maybe a little bit, let me rephrase that. At age 30, the typical person, the average person, starts to age faster than they can regenerate. Depending on your genetics, depends on if it's a little bit earlier aging or a little bit later aging. Some people have good genetics and they age a little bit later in life. Some people have bad genetics and they age faster in life, okay? But the average, it's about age 30. So before age 30, you are regenerating faster than the cells are dying, all right? And you're growing and you're healing. But once you hit that inflection point of about age 30, you start to age faster than you're regenerating. And then there's another major point, which is around age 65, where you start to age much faster. And during these points, you're accumulating free radicals and toxins, the accumulation of toxins more and faster in these cells at age 30 and age 65, right? And when that happens, you are aging faster. So if you take strong antioxidants during these windows, if you take them before age 30, you are mitigating any accumulation of cell damage before you hit age 30. All right. And if you're taking antioxidants between age 30 to age 65, you're soaking up those free radicals and you're detoxifying your body and you're slowing down that aging process. So the average person that's not doing that, they're going to age faster between age 30 to 65. But if you're taking strong antioxidants and you're detoxifying your body and you're doing the protocol that I'm talking about, you're aging much slower between age 30 to 65, right? A lot slower. And that's why you see people that do this for like 2 decades, why they look so much younger compared to a group that, if you are doing it for 25 years, all right, between age 30, all right, 25 years, that's 55, all right? And you compare a 55-year-old that didn't do it versus someone that did follow like an anti-aging protocol and took strong antioxidants and they had a proper lifestyle, they age much slower because there's a compound effect, all right? So, but there's these 2 key points in the body where your body switches at about age 30, where you're aging faster than you're regenerating. And the same thing happens at about age 65. It accelerates. That's why when you're after age 65, you age much faster. And when you're 75, you even faster. It's all exponential. All right. And your epigenetics change. All right. Your methylation of certain genes change, and you don't express certain genes as well, your regeneration genes. But when you're taking strong antioxidants and have a good lifestyle, you are maintaining the best you can the epigenetics for youthfulness. That's why what I'm telling you works. All right. Now, you can not do it, and it's your own damn fault when your body starts falling apart. All right. But if you follow what I'm saying and you stick to it, and you do this for a long period of time, you're going to see huge benefits compared to your peer group that's not doing it. All right. Now, I'm older than Alex Jones. Now, just look at Alex Jones and look at me. All right. I'm fitter. I look a lot younger than Alex Jones. Now, who do you want? Do you want to take his crap? Do you want to take his supplements that he doesn't even use? Or do you want to follow exactly what I'm doing? It's up to you. I don't really care. But what I do works. The proof is in the pudding. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and follow what I'm doing. Go and get the C60. It soaks up those free radicals, and it slows down that aging process. The same thing. Take my NAC. It boosts up your glutathione levels and soaks up those free radicals. You see that there is a common theme here. It's about bringing down free radicals. It's about taking a lot of antioxidants. It's about bringing down chronic inflammation. And it's about neutralizing pathogens. When you do that, you slow down the aging process through multi-vectored approach.
Look from the West Bank as we continue to follow a number of breaking news stories out of the Middle East. Palestinian militants have killed 3 Israeli police officers on Sunday when they opened fire on a vehicle in the occupied West Bank, where Israel has carried out large-scale raids in recent days. The attack took place along a road in the southern West Bank. The raids have mainly been focused on urban refugee camps in the northern part of the territory, where Israeli forces have traded fire with militants on a nearly daily basis since the outbreak of the war in Gaza. The police confirmed that all 3 killed were officers and said the militants got away. And I wanted to share this platform, social media platform, right there with you. This is from Gallant. It says, quote, "It is with great sorrow that I received the tragic news regarding the policemen who were killed during a terror attack. They fell while performing their duties in service of Israel. They dedicated their lives to defending their homeland and their nation. They chose to fulfill a meaningful service till their last breaths. I salute them. May their memories be a blessing. We will pursue and eliminate their enemies." So I did want to share the very latest with you as we also continue to follow another breaking news story. As Israel says, it has recovered the bodies of 6 hostages in Gaza, including a young Israeli American man. To talk more about this, I do want to bring in Fleur Hassan Nahu, who is the former deputy mayor of Jerusalem. And Fleur, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Absolutely. And I do want to, with ProCare, you can offer touchless payment options like ACH, mobile bill pay, or completely automated. We also offer next business. Absolutely. And I do want to speak with you about the recovery of the bodies of 6 hostages in Gaza. But before we get to that, I also wanted to speak with you about the very latest, the breaking news that Palestinian militants have killed 3 Israeli police officers in the West Bank. What can you share with us about that?
Well, again, what's been happening now in the West Bank, as we call it, Judea and Samaria, is essentially the emboldenment of Hamas because of October 7th. They've been launching terror attacks. They launched a suicide terror attack in Tel Aviv that thankfully, by miracle, didn't end up in mass casualties. So we're seeing a concerted effort by Hamas in Judea and Samaria, in the West Bank, to attack Israel as much as it possibly can. And so with these operations, we're trying to prevent those attacks. Everything we're doing is defensive. And unfortunately, today, we've had so much tragedy. We've had 3 officers killed in the line of duty, defending their people, defending Israel. And of course, the recovery of the 6 dead bodies of the hostages, which is just completely heartbreaking for us.
Fleur, you were mentioning Hamas feeling emboldened. Israel has tried to reach a ceasefire deal with Hamas, who has refused to come to the table and accept the terms offered to them. I want to ask you this, especially with the very latest, where 3 Israeli police officers were killed by militants in that terror attack. For you, in terms of the very latest event, what does this signify to you when it comes to the status of this ongoing war?
Well, what's been happening in Gaza has obviously significantly weakened Hamas and their military capabilities. So now they're looking for other avenues. We know and we've discovered that there's a direct link between Iran arms supply into the West Bank, into Judea and Samaria, through Jordan. And so what we need to see is not Israel fighting on its own to destroy the military group Hamas, which has been emboldened by Iran. Iran is an enemy of the entire civilized world. We know that they're the head of the snake. We know they're the head of the octopus, and this is just the tentacle. And so what we really need to see is more of a concerted effort by the whole entire global community to make sure that Iran is the one that is to blame and is the one that suffers and is disarmed instead of just letting them do whatever it is they continue to do to make the whole world and our region much more dangerous.
Absolutely, Fleur. Thank you so much. I also wanted to share with our viewers just briefly right here, as we just received photos of the 3 Israeli police officers who were killed in the West Bank. And we did want to share that with our viewers as they were killed by Palestinian militants right there. So that just into our newsroom. So we did want to share that with our viewers. And Fleur, I also wanted to continue our conversation because, of course, the other major breaking news story was that the Israeli military recovered the bodies of 6 hostages in Gaza. And I wanted to ask you about that. You know, what can you share with us?
It's just heartbreaking, Stephanie, because 2 of those hostages or 3 of those hostages would have been in the deal that never happened. I myself, my family are close to the Goldberg Polands. I've known Hirsch since he was a kid. And we're just completely heartbroken. We lived in hope that he was going to come out. The parents have left no stone unturned, as every single parent has. They've been everywhere. They've lobbied everyone. And at this point, I want to really reinforce the words that came out of the hostage family forum, who basically said, we will pressure our own government, but everyone around the world needs to be pressuring their government to make sure that this is a priority. If the world would be pressuring Hamas and not Israel instead, then the result may have been very different. Today, Stephanie, as mothers and as citizens of Israel,
keep kicking the can down the road, it's going to get worse. This is what happened in 2006. This is what happened in 2008, 2009. This is what happened in 2016. You got to get the job done. And getting the job done is doing this: destroying Hamas, destroying Hezbollah, and destroying the theocratic regime of Iran. It's that simple.
They're all completely heartbroken.
It is so heartbreaking, as you mentioned, Fleur, and I did want to ask you about this because the military said that all 6 had been killed shortly before the arrival of Israeli forces when it comes to the strategy of Hamas. And there was the rescue of a 52-year-old hostage last week who was able to be rescued safely and reunited with his family in Israel. But what can you share with us about the tactics of Hamas as they still hold about 100 hostages captive?
Well, this is how cruel they are. They obviously felt that the Israeli military was getting close, and instead of just escaping themselves, they had to massacre 6 innocent young people, just in vain, for no reason. They would have escaped anyway, but this is what they did. And again, like the Prime Minister said, these are not people who want to deal. If they wanted a deal, then we would have a deal, and they would get what they are negotiating for, not just kill 6 innocent lives just like that, just extinguish these lives. Like I said, we're all aching today. We really hoped and prayed that they would come home safe. These are young, healthy people that were taking in the prime of their lives, taken from their lives, taken from their families. There was no reason for them to have killed them. They did nothing to anyone.
And I would imagine, Fleur, that this also...
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the ubiquinol that I have. This is the active form for CoQ10. This is important to boost up your energy. It also helps as an antioxidant, and it helps your neurons, the health of your neurons. You should be taking this every day. I've been taking CoQ10 for many years. Now I can finally provide this on my store, so you can take it and stack it with the other stuff that I've been telling you about. This is synergistic with C60, synergistic with NAD+, synergistic with NAC. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the ubiquinol. This is the active form for CoQ10. You need this to help with your energy. It is an antioxidant. It will help with your mitochondria, and it helps with your neurons. So please go to my store and get the ubiquinol.
Signifies that Hamas will not come to the table or bargain in good faith when it comes to a potential ceasefire deal. Israel has come to the table repeatedly offering what they feel is a fair deal for Hamas. I have to imagine, from your perspective, does this signify the fact that they have murdered 6 hostages when Israeli military were close by, that they will not agree to any sort of a ceasefire deal?
Well, it would make sense that we conclude that from that. As you said quite rightly, Stephanie, they've been offered 6 deals and they've rejected all of them. Your Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, has repeatedly put the blame of the lack of a deal on Hamas for inventing new conditions or just walking away. And obviously there hasn't been enough pressure from the so-called interlocutors to make sure that a deal was made. And here we have more innocent people dead that could have come out in a deal if Hamas would have actually wanted a deal. And really that goes along with the whole ethos of suicidal fundamentalism, because that's really what they're all about. They will bring down everyone with them. They don't care about their own civilians. They started this war on the 7th of October, massacring babies and raping women. These people have no good faith at all. And so to expect a deal from these people maybe was us wishful thinking. Maybe there was some type of realistic prospect, but today we've seen that they're not interested in anything except killing innocent lives and burning everything down along with them.
And you mentioned the enormous human cost. Tens of thousands of people have lost their lives in this ongoing conflict. When it comes to the strategy of trying to rescue the remaining hostages, does this change that, if at all? I'm sure it's already been challenging, but now even more so as the risk continues to increase.
Well, we know, we have intelligence that Yahya Sinwar himself is surrounded with 22, 25 hostages that he takes with him wherever it is he escapes. Next to that, his insurance policy. And as a result, even if Israel knows where he is, they will not burn down wherever he is standing at, because we don't, of course, want to bring our own casualties along with bringing him down. And so that, he knows, is his insurance policy. I was hoping that those people who we found today, those innocent lives, were also part of that hostage deal that would have been surrounding Sinwar and would have survived this terrible, terrible tragedy and this murder.
Laura, before we let you go, is there anything else that you would like to share with our Live Now for Fox viewers?
Well, like I said earlier, Stephanie, the UN have been completely useless here. The EU have been victim blaming Israel from the beginning. We need more international pressure. Remember, Qatar funds, facilitates, and hosts Hamas. The US have a military base in Qatar. The Europeans have multiple business interests in Qatar, as do America. So we could be putting more pressure to the people who can actually affect a deal.
All right, Fleur, as always, we do.
That's the end of this broadcast. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and follow my advice. Take the supplements that I take to help boost up my immune system, bring down inflammation, and neutralize pathogens. I've told you the magic ingredients and how to slow down the aging process and boost up your immune system. This is really important, especially with all the chemicals they're spraying around you, the chemtrails, the pathogens, the weakened immune systems, right? So it's up to you. Are you going to take charge of your own life or not? All right? Proper supplementation, proper diet, proper exercise, filter your water, stop eating processed foods. You have to stretch. You have to have mindfulness and spirituality, and you need to exercise that brain of yours. That means reading and writing and talking to people in the real world, not in cyber world, but the real world. Because the reality of the situation in the United States, the average IQ is 98. That is unacceptable. All right. And these devices, the smartphones, the computers, the iPads, the tablets, and all this stuff, it makes you stupid. All right. So pick up a book and get educated. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.